Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on how the ultra-wealthy really build their fortunes. We're going to break down the two financial mindsets that create a massive gap between the top 10% and everyone else. And more importantly, I'll show you how you can start applying their formula to your own life. Let's jump in. Does this feel familiar? You've done everything right. You worked hard, you've climbed the ladder, and you're pulling in a really good income. But when you look at your actual net worth, it's just not growing the way you thought it would. It's an incredibly common frustration, and it's not your fault. It's actually a sign that you might be playing by the wrong set of financial rules. See, that gap between what you earn and the wealth you're building, it exists for a reason. The wealthy are playing a completely different financial game. They have a different strategy, a different mindset, and today, we're going to lay out the rules of their game for you. So, what is this big secret of the top 10%? Well, it really all boils down to how they approach the very idea of building wealth. Let's take a look at the two competing playbooks. On one side, you've got what's called the P&L mindset. This is all about focusing on your income. And on the other, you've got the Treasury mindset, which is completely focused on building equity. Trust me, these two approaches will lead you down two totally different financial roads. Okay, so the P&L mindset, this is the one that most of us know. It's what we're taught. It's that simple formula. Income minus expenses equals profit. The whole goal is to make that income number as big as possible, right? You ask for a raise, work overtime, maybe get a side hustle. But here's the problem, the big catch. You can't really save your way to massive wealth because your income is always limited by your time and your energy. It's a straight line and it has a hard ceiling. Now, the Treasury mindset. This is the game that the truly wealthy are playing. They are not focused on their income statement. They are obsessed with their balance sheet, with assets and equity. Their goal isn't linear, it's exponential. They want to grow their equity like crazy, creating wealth that is completely separate from how many hours they work. So what's the fatal flaw in that old P&L model? Well, it completely overlooks the one single expense that is quietly killing your ability to build wealth year after year after year. This quote says it all, doesn't it? Your single biggest expense is not your house payment. It's not what you spend on your car. It is your tax bill. This is the giant leak in your financial bucket that the P&L mindset just forces you to accept as normal. Let's put a real number on this to see how crazy it is. So a professional making, say, $300,000 a year, they could easily lose over $3.3 million to taxes over their career. Just think about that. That's money that could have been invested, compounding, growing for you, but instead, poof, it's gone forever. It's a staggering number, and it really shines a light on the true cost of sticking with that old P&L mindset. So how do we stop this financial bleeding? Well, the Treasury system offers a really powerful solution. It's all about rerouting your cash flow before the tax man can get his hands on it. This slide shows the two paths perfectly. The P&L path is basically a dead end. You earn your money, you immediately pay taxes, you live on whatever is left, and then maybe you invest the scraps. But the Treasury path, it's a beautiful, virtuous cycle. You earn money, you immediately use it to buy tax-advantaged assets, and then those assets pay for your lifestyle. See the difference? You're not just saving a tiny piece of your income, you are effectively putting 100% of it to work for you. All right, so how do we actually make this happen? It all comes down to two incredibly powerful engines that are going to accelerate your whole wealth building journey. The very first step is to turn the tax code from your enemy into your greatest ally. Instead of seeing it as this huge burden, you need to start seeing it as a roadmap, a set of incentives. The government actually wants to encourage certain activities, like providing housing or developing energy, and they write clues right into the tax code. So here are a few real-world examples of what this looks like. When you invest in assets like rental properties or in oil and gas or solar projects, you can generate what are called paper losses. You do this through things like tax depreciation and tax credits. Think of depreciation like this. The government agrees that your rental property is slowly wearing down over time, so they let you deduct a piece of its value from your income, even while it's actually making you money. These are totally legal deductions that can shrink or even completely wipe out your taxable income, letting you keep the cash you would have otherwise handed over in taxes. Okay, so once you've plugged that massive tax leak, it is time to fire up the second engine, investment efficiency. This is where we go way beyond the traditional idea of a diversified portfolio, and we make every single dollar work overtime for you. Here's the key difference. Horizontal investing is what most people do. They spread their money thin. A dollar goes here to do one job, a dollar goes there to do another job. Layered investing, on the other hand, is about stacking your assets, creating this powerful synergy where every single dollar is doing multiple jobs at the same time. It's a huge shift from an employee's mindset of diversifying away risk to an owner's mindset of concentrating your power. The real secret to layered investing is this simple but profound shift in how you think. You stop focusing on return on investment, or ROI, and start focusing on return on equity, or ROE. Okay, let's walk through an example. Let's say you buy a $100,000 property, but you only put $20,000 down. If that property goes up in value by $5,000, your ROI on the whole asset is 5%. Not bad. But your ROE, the return on your actual cash, the $20K you have in the deal, is a massive 25%. The wealthy are obsessed with maximizing the return on the actual cash they have in the game. Now for the fun part. Let's see what happens when we put these two powerful engines together and let them run over time. The long-term results? They're not just impressive. They are absolutely life-changing. The magic behind this kind of explosive growth is compounding, and the rule of 72 is a really simple way to get your head around it. You just divide the number 72 by your annual rate of return, and that tells you how many years it takes for your money to double. Now, with a layered strategy, getting a 20% return is very achievable. And at that rate, your wealth doubles every 3.5 years. This is how you get that parabolic hockey stick-shaped wealth growth. Now, here is the master key to keeping that compounding engine running at full tilt. You never sell your assets. Why? Because selling does two terrible things. It creates a taxable event, and even more importantly, it stops the growth cold. So instead, you borrow against your assets. As long as your assets are growing faster than the interest rate on your loan, you can pull out cash to live on while your wealth just keeps on compounding in the background. Okay, this slide really shows the incredible difference between the two mindsets. After 20 years, Person A, using that old P&L mindset, has a respectable $1.48 million. Hey, that's great. But Person B, using the Treasury mindset, has a life-altering $12.7 million. That is almost a 9 times difference. That's the difference between a pretty comfortable retirement and true financial freedom. Now, look, this isn't just some theory. You can actually start applying these principles to your own finances, like today. Here's a simple diagnostic to help you get started on the right path. It's a really simple 3-step process. First, just pull out your last tax return and find your taxable income. Second, figure out your annual tax exposure, how much you're actually paying. And third, you just start asking the big question: how can I start to reclaim this money through tax-advantaged investments? This right here is your very first step toward building real, lasting wealth. So, now you know. You know there's another game being played with a different set of rules. And once you know, you can't unknow it. The path to financial freedom is right there in front of you. It is a path of assets, of equity, and of exponential growth. The only question left is, are you ready to make your first move?